changed just with everything as you try to get a true freshman ready to start? Going on the road?
Yeah, you always got to be prepared for that. I mean, it's football, you know. I mean, it's unfortunately a part of the game. Just obviously disappointed for Dylan, man. I mean, I've been in this situation before where, as I think it was 2017, Will Greer broke his finger, and the people saw it on the jumbotron, and so we were beating Texas by like 10, and it just took all the air out of everything, the crowd, the players, and we lost that game, and didn't finish that year the way that we thought we would. I did not feel that one bit in this game. Okay, Dylan was incredible on the sidelines. I mean, it was unfortunate. We had momentum. We were going to go score, and that game was going to end differently. We all know that. But the reality of it is, our crowd was probably better after it happened. Our players didn't flinch, didn't blink. Credit to our defense for going out there and getting a stop, didn't let them score on that turnover. And credit to TJ and our offense for going out there and just continuing to fight and continue to play. The plays were there. And so that's going to be valuable experience for TJ. TJ was ready to go. He's a student of the game. Enjoy coaching him. It's going to obviously mean more now. When you're that guy, you always got to be ready. Now it's granddad's turn to be ready, the next guy to be ready, and so my world hasn't changed. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, Dylan's, he's going to kill this 3-month rehab, and, he's leaving today to go to New York, and wish him the well, and it sucks, but it's what's next. That's how you got to approach this profession. That's how you got to approach this game. And we're excited about TJ's opportunity, so I think he's ready to go. He had a great practice out there today. Players are motivated to, go to LA and play again on Saturday. Glad we don't have a bye week right now. We need to go play, and our players are, they're pissed off, they're motivated, and they're ready to go play.
What is his skill set? Maybe the menu that you're able to call on Saturday?
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, he does some things probably a little better than Dylan does with his legs. We all know that. We've seen it. UCLA is going to see it. They're going to have a plan for it. But offense is still the offense, and he's expected to run it. He had valuable experience earlier in the year, and, I just kept calling plays. Whatever's on the sheet, I just kept calling plays. And then Saturday night, I just kept calling plays. What he does with the ball may be a little bit different than what Dylan does with the ball. But I'm excited to see him play. He's a good football player. He's a good quarterback. We got confidence. Our team is going to rally around him. I know that. They did today out there at practice. It was another good Tuesday practice, and we're going to be excited about playing. And I know our team's going to rally around him. My conversation with TJ is just be yourself. Just be yourself. You just play your game. He's not thrusted into a leadership point of view right now. That's Dylan's still around. He's still going to be around. He's still going to be a tremendous leader that he is. And I think Coach Rule's message was spot on with everybody else needs to elevate, including me. Got to elevate what we're doing and let TJ worry about playing quarterback. Just what's his job. That's all. That's all he needs to worry about. And everybody needs to play to the best of their ability in order for him to be able to do that.
Are there cases where you do have a call sheet for one quarterback and kind of another call sheet for a backup?
Yeah, I'd say it's really never existed in my world, so to speak. But but that's part of coaching. I mean, we're going to take what TJ does well, and we're probably going to feature that a little bit more. I mean, we're a run-first team now. Everybody sees that. Emmett's playing at an all-time level in my world for what a running back's doing. And our O-line is settling in on what they do well. So, that aspect of it probably won't change too much. But it's all about game planning and what our players that are playing for us can do well.
When it comes to TJ's arm strength, I mean, does he have, I mean, we've seen it, does he have the arm, you think, to take a few more shots down the field when they're called?
Yeah, well, he does, and there is those plays on Saturday. I mean, you know, he threw the ball down the field several times, and one should have been caught. You know, the receiver is a little late on the second one. It was more of an RPO. And this is a focus on ours right now is just the timing on it. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is you know, play specific. If it's RPO, it's probably coming out a little bit quicker. If it's play action, it's probably going to be a little bit more downfield. But we need to do a better job of that. Okay, but there were 8 opportunities downfield that we threw the ball down the field. I mean, we're going to do that. You know, and so those we have to be more successful with that. You know, Dane caught that one for a touchdown. It was an awesome catch. I think we got 1 PI, and then the rest of them were unsuccessful, and that was a combination of timing. That was a combination of not going and getting it, and then that was a combination of ball placement as well.
How do you see defenses doing something to Barney that's made it harder for him to make some of those plays downfield?
I wouldn't say that. It's just, you know, our progressive pass game is not great right now. You know, I mean, we're not able to sit back there and go through reads. That's when he, like earlier in the year, if you talk about the plays that he made, it was all progressive, you know, and so, you know, he was like, you know, we tried to take a shot to Luke down the field on the sidelines, and ball probably actually should have went there, you know, and then the progression is Corey coming across the field, you know, and Dylan just got spooked and spit it out there to Isaiah. But we got to continue to work on that. I mean, I get it. He needs the ball. You know, I've developed some screens and I've done some things, you know, to get him the ball, and it just hasn't turned out the way that we want it and expect it to turn out. I joked with him earlier that when he gets the ball on offense, he needs to pretend it's a punt return. Because we see what he can do with the ball, you know, and I'm trying to get creative to, you know, that one play, I know Coach referenced it, but we had a tunnel screen to him, and that thing he was walking in, you know, and so then we threw him another tunnel screen and missed the block. You know, there's things that we do to get him involved, and, you know, if you start forcing things too much, then that disrupts the flow of your offense.
Dana, those older players on the offensive side like Turner and Dane, Emmett, how does, in your experience, their importance become magnified when you have a true freshman at quarterback?
Oh, it absolutely does. It was kind of one thing that I thought was missing last year when I got here. You know, I got here about a year ago yesterday. You know, and I do think we've improved in a lot of areas. One of like Dylan tried to be that guy last year, and he wasn't ready to do it. You know, and that took a toll on him. And he had to hit that reset button when I got here, and I think he did a good job of that. You know, but now I think we have good, strong, older presence guys. You know, when TJ stepped into that huddle to start practice, those guys were excited in there. You know, and they were slapping them around and kidding with them, joking with them, but they understand it, and they are older. You know, even Jacory's played a lot of ball, and Isaiah's played a lot of ball, Luke's played a lot of ball, you know, and then all those old linemen are pretty old as well. So Coach Rill's done an amazing job with the team this week of getting that point across.
With Gunner being now out for the rest of the season, just how does that look?
Yeah, Pritch was out there practicing. That's good news. That's good news, number one. You know, and you know Turner's fighting hard. Love that kid, man. He doesn't care. He just wants to play ball. He's so experienced, and yeah, could be his last go around. You know, so he's gonna make the most of every single moment he's got. You know, whether it's right tackle, left tackle, doesn't matter. You know, Tyler gets reps at, and I know Coach Rule talked about this yesterday. They just got to keep improving. And then Preston, you know, was the backup left tackle out there today, and is only going to get better. You know, so it's got to keep practicing and hope for the best.
What have you seen from UCLA, coach, just their defense and then the way their coaching staff has kind of kept it together when they fired their coach so early in the season?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. You know, you look at their first 3 games. I mean, they gave up quite a bit. You know, they're two of those games were big rushing games. You know, and they had fixed a lot of the run game problems, and then they had to go to Indiana, who does an excellent job of running the football. You know, so you know, but the 2 previous games before that, they did a nice job of improving in the run game. Just overall, you can just see the energy on the field. You know, the first few games, you didn't see a whole lot of energy, and then the last 3, there's been a whole lot of energy. So, they're coming off a bye week, and I'm sure they're going to be ready to go.
How impressive is it? I mean, that offensive coordinator's young. I mean, to be as successful as he's been, turn that thing around. I mean, as an offensive coordinator, how impressive is that?
Yeah, it is. I don't know Coach Neuheisel. I know Rick very well. I know his dad very well, and so you think that kid's probably grown up around it a lot. It probably was. He was probably like me. He wasn't a very good player, so he just put everything into the coaching aspect of it. But coach his kid, been around it. I got a lot of respect and admiration for Coach Neuheisel, and so I would imagine his son is every bit of what he is. He's doing an incredible job, no doubt.
You mentioned it's been a year since you've been calling plays here. What has the Big Ten been? What you expected has been different. What's been the experience trying to go up against some of these defenses compared to some of the other defenses you called against?
Well, it's what I expected. That night game in Lincoln was pretty awesome too. It was the first thing that that was as good as an atmosphere as in college football. Period. It's just such a shame, man. Plus, in addition to, the Big Ten, yes, it's a great conference. Every game's hard. Every game's a single-digit game. Has been the last few weeks for us again, and so, but I think that's parity across college football too, and so if there's parity across college football, what do you think parity in the Big Ten is going to look like, and so, got to be ready to go every week, and that's college football, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
How much more do you want to see this offense kind of grow and change? I know it's hard with Latif now being the quarterback instead of Dylan, but what more is there out there for this group to get, not only this year but in the coming year? Yeah,
you get into towards the end of the year, you start settling into kind of who you are. That's just a reality, But every game's different. It's things that aren't popping in one game that you think would pop. You go into the next game and then things will start popping that you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So every game's different, and we're going to do our absolute best on getting a game plan together. That's, to me, I've always said this to you guys. To me, balance is spreading that ball around to everybody. I want Isaiah to have touches, Ja'Cory, Luke, Dane, and then obviously Emmett just keeps getting stronger as the game goes on. 29 carries. I don't know how I can feed him anymore, and he's valuable in the pass game as well, and so love what that kid's doing. He's turned himself into one of the best backs in the country. But with that said, yes, he's going to get his carries. There's no doubt about that. Okay, what's the flow of the game, and where does the ball need to go? And my job is to distribute it.
Matt said that this time for Dylan would be very valuable, just stepping away for a couple weeks in the end of the regular season. But what do you think he can learn from viewing the game in a different perspective?
But I think that was a very valuable point that he made, and it's very true. And I didn't even think of it this way, but that kid's been playing football for a long time, and he hasn't really ever been to the point where he can just take a step back and watch it. I say this: he was in the meeting this morning asking questions and taking notes. He was out there at practice and talking to TJ in between every series. That's incredible. I just think when he sees it, he'd know how he can, relay the information to TJ. I think it's going to be valuable. He's not going to be there on Saturday. That's going to be me and Glenn's job. But from Dylan's perspective, I just think it'll help the game slow down even more. When you see it from that perspective, I just think it's going to slow down even more for him. Next year will probably be better because of it. I know it's disappointing to him, but he'll be better because of it.
The added component of TJ making his start in essentially his hometown. What do you communicate with him? Just keeping things one series at a time.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be pretty special for him and his family, much like we talked about Emmett going to Minnesota. It's going to be special they don't have to travel to see him. You'll probably have a whole lot of people that are going to want to come to that game, but at the end of the day, don't let that affect you at the hotel. Don't let that affect you, from, just spending too much time with people and all that. When it's football, it's got to be football, right? And then, you get to the stadium, you don't really care about what's going on around you. You focus on what your job is. And I know he'll do that. He's a very calm, mature kid. Just even in that game, if he could step into that game Saturday night and not blink, it doesn't matter where we play. You know, so if that stage right there was not too big for him, which it was not, then he will be just fine. Thank you all.